mean, she made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, Before Dark. And for Rick Ballou tonight on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM with Aaron Williams. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are spending part of your Tuesday evening with us. A Tuesday evening that finds us talking about, well, the National Football League. We got Jaguar rookie minicamp coming up towards the end of the week. Down at the Miller Electric Center, we have OTAs for the Jacksonville Jaguars that are also right around the corner later this month. We will certainly talk about that. The USA Today, way too early, college football top 25 is out. And I want to talk about that because of some shocking things that are in there, quite frankly, including Florida, Florida State, among others. We'll get to that. Speaking of the Gators, boy, it has been another really good day for John Summerall on the recruiting trail. Florida lands not one, but two four-star guys today. They are up to number 6 in the recruiting rankings on 247sports.com. We will let you know who they got, where they got them from, and what potentially is next for a Gator recruiting class in 2027 that is all of a sudden here in the month of May among the best in the entire nation. So we'll do a lot of college football tonight. We'll certainly do some National Football League stuff tonight. We will do some NBA playoff stuff as well. Last night, the Knicks, huge win over Philadelphia, blowout city at Madison Square Garden. You had Minnesota go into San Antonio and steal game 1, although Victor Wembanyama had 11. That's 11 blocked shots in the losing effort for the Spurs. Tonight, game 1 between Cleveland and Detroit. You also have game 1 between the Lakers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Orlando Magic coaching search is well underway. Is Billy Donovan the leader in the clubhouse to get that Orlando Magic job 19 years after he accepted it and then had a change of heart? What a full circle moment that would be if at age 60, Billy Donovan takes over the Orlando Magic. So we got a ton to do. We're with you till 8 o'clock in for Rick Ballou, and we're happy you're spending part of your Tuesday evening with us. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Aaron Williams, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
I do want to talk a little college football, and first and foremost, I want to start with the Florida Gators on the recruiting trail. Now, again, these are not guys that are going to be at Florida in 2026. This is part of the 2027 recruiting trail. These are guys that will sign presumably in December. All these are verbal announcements right now. But it's a growing trend for what John Summerall is doing at the University of Florida. Earlier this afternoon, the third 4-star or higher offensive lineman committed to the Gators as Florida lands Elijah Hutchinson. Hutchinson from Roanoke, Virginia, chose the Gators over Clemson, Virginia Tech, and Vanderbilt. He is the number 6 ranked offensive tackle in America, according to 247sports.com. Hutchinson joins Peyton Miller, the number 1 ranked center in America, and Maxwell Hiller, the number 1 overall interior offensive lineman in America. So you got 3 of presumably the top 15, roughly, offensive linemen in America that have committed to the University of Florida, and they've gotten them from the states of Pennsylvania, Texas, and Virginia. Maxwell Hiller from Pennsylvania, Peyton Miller from Texas, and earlier this afternoon, Elijah Hutchinson from the state of Virginia. Also, an hour after Hutchinson committed to the University of Florida, the Gators go out and get 4-star safety Caleb Dillard from Oklahoma. He chose the Gators over Georgia and Oregon. Those were the two other hats on the table for him. He is one of the best ranked players in the state of Oklahoma. So John Summerall, look, you want to do well in the state of Florida, obviously, and they're trying to do that. But in doing so, they've gone to Pennsylvania. They've gone to Texas. They've gone to Oklahoma. They've gone to Virginia, and they're getting some of the best prospects in those states to commit to the University of Florida. Again, the Gators right now ranked 6th in the 247.com recruiting rankings for the class of 2027. Notable, all right? Does it mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things? Not yet, but if you're doing this well on the trail and you're John Summerall and you're yet to even coach a game, boy, what happens if you start compiling some wins together in the fall? And likewise, in that same breath, what happens if you lose a couple of games? Will these commitments stick? That's a conversation for down the road. But for the here and now, really good work by the Gators on the recruiting trail in the class of 2027. Speaking of college football, this came out late last week on the USA Today. And I like things like this. It gets people talking, gets the mind wandering a little bit. It's the way too early top 25 for college football heading into the 2026 season. And a couple of things stick out here. One thing really stuck out. We'll get to that in a moment. Your top 5, according to the USA Today, heading into the 2026 season. Well, they have Ohio State number 1. And Ohio State just had 4 guys drafted in the top 11 in the NFL draft. They obviously have to replace a ton of talent, but presumably they're just reloading. You lose top 10 picks, you replace them with 5 stars that are just waiting for their opportunity. Ohio State number 1 in this poll. Notre Dame number 2 on this poll. Now, a lot of the Notre Dame situation stems from the quarterback coming back, right? C.J. Carr. They do have to replace the running backs, both Love and Price, who were both first-round picks. Notre Dame's schedule is certainly not the toughest in America in 2026, which might factor into this as well. But almost any good team last year that has a returning quarterback is going to be rated pretty high. Notre Dame comes in at number 2. Texas comes in at 3. Obviously, with Arch Manning at the helm, they get Cam Coleman, the transfer wide receiver from Auburn, among others. Will Muschamp back at Texas as the defensive coordinator. Obviously, they ended the year very, very well a season ago. They are the highest-ranked SEC team at number 3. I will tell you there are 8 SEC teams in this USA Today way too early top 25. The Georgia Bulldogs come in at number 4. Gunnar Stockton returns to Georgia for another year. We'll see what happens. Big year for the Southeastern Conference, right? And I'm as diehard SEC as you can get. You know, it just means more, right? But it hasn't in the last 3 years. Big Ten, Big Ten, Big Ten. 3 consecutive Big Ten national championships. It's hard for the Southeastern Conference to puff out your chest. It's hard for the SEC to say, yeah, we're still the biggest, the baddest, the big boy on the block in the world of college football, when the Big Ten is home to the last 3 national champions. Indiana last year, Ohio State, and Michigan the year prior. Big year for the SEC to try to regather themselves, reestablish dominance in college football, because they have not held the ultimate trophy the last 3 seasons. All of those titles have gone to the Big Ten, but the SEC has both Texas and Georgia in this way too early top 25 from the USA Today. The defending national champion, Indiana Hoosiers, come in at number 5. It still looks funny saying this. They were 16-0 last year. The 16-0 national champion, University of Indiana Hoosiers. Of course, they lost Fernando Mendoza, among many others that left for the NFL to graduation and to the transfer portal. They did bring in some transfers, including Josh Hoover from TCU. We'll see if Curt Cignetti can find lightning in a bottle twice with another transfer quarterback like he found with Fernando Mendoza. But Indiana has to replace a lot, but nevertheless, they still come in at number 5. Let me give you the greatest hits here, and I want to get to the point I wanted to make earlier. Miami comes in at number 6. Miami coming off losing that national title game to Indiana. Of course, no more Carson Beck, no more Reuben Bain, no more Francis Mauigoa. I mean, they got to replace a lot of guys that were drafted in last week's NFL draft. But we know Darian Mensah at quarterback. They've just replenished at quarterback every year. We know the talent with Malachi Toney and everybody they have there at Miami. I think 6 is probably fair for them to start the year. We'll see when the official poll comes out in a couple of months. But the USA Today has Miami in their way too early poll at number 6. There are 8 SEC teams in this preseason top 25. 8. I mentioned Texas 3, Georgia 4, Oklahoma. Brent Venables and the Sooners come in at 7. There's Pete Golding at Ole Miss. Remember Pete Golding taking over for Lane Kiffin. Trinidad Chambliss back at quarterback for Ole Miss. They come in at number 9. You got Texas A&M at 11. Alabama comes in at number 12. Then you scroll down to Lane Kiffin and LSU. They hold the 17 spot. Tennessee comes in at number 20. And I believe that's it for the SEC. So that's 8 teams inside the top 20. And when you talk about Florida, and you bring this back to the Gators for a moment, that goes to show you the hill that they're going to have to climb in year number 1 under John Summerall and this staff. Things have gone great. Recruiting's going wonderful, as I just mentioned. The transfer portal was good to Florida. Retaining a lot of last year's guys was good. There's a lot of excitement around the program, as there should be. But when the season kicks off and when reality starts to set in, even though Florida's schedule is a little easier than it has been in years past, you're still fighting a very, very uphill battle with so much talent, so many returning quarterbacks, so much skill in the conference, with so many coaching staffs that are established. It's going to be hard for Florida to break in and have a 9 or 10 win season. That's why I've said all offseason, you tell me 8-4 for the Gators right now. You say, Hacker, you don't even know how it goes, but I'll give you 8 wins and 4 losses in 2026. I'll say, where do I sign? I would take that in a heartbeat. If Florida wins 8 games, that is a good season, a first season for John Summerall and this staff. Here's the point that really stood out to me. Florida was not in this USA Today preseason top 25. But you know who was? And I did a double take on this. Florida State came in at number 22 on this list.
What?
Let me read you what they say from the USA Today. Seminoles coach Mike Norvell enters the 2026 campaign under significant pressure. Even with his huge buyout, the quarterback competition in the spring was won by Auburn transfer Ashton Daniels, settling one question. Others remain, with the offensive line still unsettled after a wave of transfers. Things are more sorted on the defensive side of the ball, with coordinator Tony White entering his second season. Daniel Lyons emerged as a leader on a young defensive line that has showed promise. Norvell has been positive about the linebacker group, which welcomed transfer Chris Jones from Southern Miss and other pieces at both linebacker and returning members in the secondary. That all may be true, and that all might be fine and well. I don't know who put this together. And look, I mean, it's a poll, a way too early preseason top 25 in late April, early May. It's a talking point, certainly. You're going to have preseason magazines that are going to be hitting the newsstand in a couple of weeks to keep college football at the top of mind. There is no way on planet Earth that Florida State is the 22nd best team in America coming into the 2026 season. Aaron, you were surprised. I was shocked when I read that. I mean, this is a Florida State team that has not won a road game in 2 years. It's a Florida State team that has a combined record of 7-17 in the last 2 years. It's a Florida State team that has a schedule this year consisting of a top 20 team in SMU, an Alabama team that you wonder if they're going to be fired up to see Florida State come to Tuscaloosa. You got to play Clemson. You got to play Miami. You got to play Pitt. You got to play NC State. You got to play Florida. You got to play Virginia. I mean, it is a brutally tough ACC schedule for the Noles. Do they have talent on the roster? Yeah. Could Ashton Daniels be a good player? Yeah, he could. I actually like the fact that Mike Norvell is reassuming play calling duties. I think that'll be good for Florida State in the long run. But man alive, when I saw the USA Today had them as the 22nd best team in America in this way too early top 25, I just wonder how much homework was done there with that poll. I mean, the ACC alone, I would have SMU ahead of them. I would obviously have Miami ahead of them. They're ranked higher than Clemson on this list. I don't know how that's even plausible.
Absurd.
Yeah, now Clemson's got to replace a lot too. Clemson lost their quarterback. Clemson lost a lot of good pieces. But I'm going to trust what I've seen the last 2 years from Clemson compared to what I've seen the last 2 years for Florida State. Look, maybe Florida State's going to surprise some people. It was not that long ago that they were 13-0 and should have been playing in the college football playoff. And, of course, since that moment, they've gone 7-18, although I don't really like to count the Orange Bowl that nobody really played for the Seminoles. So if you take that out, they're 7-17 in their last 24. Again, the fact that they haven't won a road game in 2 years at Florida State University is absolutely mind-boggling. But to me, I don't know how you garner a top 25 ranking in a way too early poll by a source like the USA Today. That's a puzzling one to me. Again, I don't agree with that. I'm not saying Florida should have been ranked. That's not the point. But I certainly don't think Florida State should have been ranked in this either. Yet they were. So maybe there's more expectations on the outside of North Florida, than there are here. Because I got Florida State buddies, Florida State alums, Florida State season ticket holders. I got gigantic Florida State fans in my group of friends that are not exactly fired up about this football season. They'll probably get there by the time August rolls around, but just talking to them in the last couple of days and weeks as spring football was wrapping up, there just doesn't seem to be a level of extreme excitement about 2026 Florida State football. And then you get this USA Today poll. It has the Seminoles in the top 25. Just kind of caught me off guard. It'll be interesting to see what ultimately happens with Mike Norvell and the Seminoles here in the 2026 season. He's probably on the hottest seat in America, despite the buyout. And if it doesn't go well for him early and they play SMU and they play Alabama, I mean, they got a tough stretch early. If it doesn't go well, you wonder if he'll even be around by Halloween. We will certainly wait and see what happens. So we'll continue the college football conversation. Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Miami. Again, a good day for the Gators on the recruiting trail, getting not one but two four-star prospects for the class of 2027, a safety and another offensive tackle that have committed to Florida earlier this afternoon. The Gators now up to number 6 nationally in the 247.com 2027 recruiting rankings. But we're never going to get too far away from the National Football League. Jaguar rookie minicamp at the end of the week. OTAs begin all over the league in the next couple of weeks. In fact, some teams have already gone through their rookie minicamp. Let's talk Jaguars. Let's talk the offseason. Let's talk how the roster's looking heading in to rookie minicamp and OTAs. And let's take a look not only at the AFC South. I want to talk Houston, Tennessee, and Indianapolis. I also want to look at the American Football Conference as a whole. All the teams that Jacksonville competed with last year: Denver, New England, Buffalo, obviously, Houston, lump Kansas City in with a healthy Patrick Mahomes, the LA Chargers. How does the AFC look now that free agency is mostly in the rearview mirror and the draft is in the rearview mirror. My guy Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Matt does a terrific job covering the National Football League. In fact, today over there at SI.com, he released his AFC South offseason grades for the Jags, the Titans, the Texans, and the Colts. We'll talk Jags, we'll talk AFC South, and we'll talk AFC at large. Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated next on a Tuesday night here in Northeast Florida. A little Hacker After Dark, Before Dark, in for Rick Ballou till 8 o'clock on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
What happens at 1010XL every morning?
You got anger, that's good. You're gonna need it, son.
Controlled chaos.
You got aggression, that's even better. You're gonna need that too.
And somehow, it works.
Wait, so you're acting like your normal control freak, psycho self again.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser are the drill. Woo! Mornings on 1010XL.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Hacker here for the best weight loss program I've ever been on. In fact, our sales guy, Greg, I came into the building earlier today. I was talking with him. He started Awaken 180, I think he said 5 days ago. He's in his first week. He's down 9 pounds. It's all about a chance to lose 40 by the 4th. I know when I did Awaken 180 2 years ago, I did lose 40 by the 4th when I started. You can lose 40 very quickly on Awaken 180 weight loss, whether you need to lose 40, 80, in my case, over 100, or even whether you need to lose a little less, 15, 20, whatever you need to lose, Awaken 180 can do a plan that's right for you. No needles, no injections, there's no pills or medication, no appetite suppressants. What happens when those shots and those medications go away, right? Well, your appetite probably comes back. I'm sure some of you know all about that. That's not what happens with Awaken 180 weight loss. You get coaching every week, you get guidance, you get tutelage, and you garner knowledge. Go to awaken180weightloss.com. That's awaken180weightloss.com, or call 844-346-1800. Awaken 180 weight loss.
David Garrard here, and once again, I'm reporting good news about how good my knees are doing following PRP treatment at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For an old quarterback like me, my knees are in great shape.
You don't have to be a celebrity or a professional athlete to appreciate the everyday personal attention you'll receive at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For any orthopedic need, call on the pros at SOS.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Florida's sun and storms means your roof has probably seen better days. If you're wondering about its condition, visit EndlessSummerRoofing.com to schedule a free, no-pressure inspection. Endless Summer Roofing, protecting your home from Florida's endless summers.
If you gotta have more Gators, get them anytime with the Gator Podcast channel. Served up by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whenever you're ready, the Gator Podcast channel is too. On the video and social channels of 1010XL.
Do you want to grow your career with a company that's committed to growing with you? Florida Home AC has aggressive plans to double their workforce, and they're looking for determined, resourceful people with initiative. Just log on to floridahomeac.com/careers to find out more.
It's time to take your season to the next level when the Jaguars return to the bank in 2026. Become a season ticket member and unlock exclusive access to ticketed events, members-only experiences, NFL membership club perks, and more. Availability is limited due to in-bowl renovations, so don't wait. Call 904-633-2000 or visit jaguars.com/season tickets to secure your spot at the center of the action. We'll see you at the bank this fall.
Spring is in the air, and Alev's long-lasting pain relief is here to keep you moving. The days are longer and the flowers are blooming. Whether it's gardening, yard work, or just spending more time outdoors, spring is a way of getting us moving despite any body pain. That's where Aleve can keep you going. With just one dose, Aleve gives you long-lasting body pain relief for up to 12 hours. From sunup to sundown, Aleve's got your back. Try Aleve. Use as directed for minor aches and pains.
Feel a vibration in your steering wheel at highway speeds? That's not something to ignore, and a standard tire balance might not fix it. At G&H Tires and Service, they offer Road Force Balancing, an advanced system that simulates how your tire actually performs on the road to detect hidden issues. It goes beyond traditional balancing to reduce vibration, improve handling, and extend the life of your tires. Newer vehicles, especially with low-profile tires, demand this level of precision. Drive smoother. G&H Tires and Service on Beach Boulevard, where where your ride gets dialed in right.
Flowers and cards are great for Mother's Day. But why not make this Mother's Day extra special with something timeless from Beard's Diamonds? The team at Beard's has put together an amazing collection of affordable and distinctive gifts, up to 40% off. Beautiful bracelets with diamonds and colored gemstones, stunning pendants, and gorgeous earrings featuring both natural and lab-grown diamonds. Think about it. It's the gift she'll be able to enjoy for years, even decades. Always a reminder of that special Mother's Day in 2026. Rings, bands, pearls, fashion pieces, all the latest from the world's top designers. Beard's makes it easy to show the mother in your life how much she means to you and to the whole family. And with up to 40% savings, you'll be amazed at what you can do with your budget. Get the card and the flowers, but top it off with a spectacular piece of jewelry from Beard's. Beard's Diamonds, not another chain store owned by Wall Street. Your local jeweler. Family owned and operated for nearly 45 years. Beard's Diamonds in the St. John's Town Center.
Hi, Frank Frangie here, inviting you to join my wife and me June 22nd of 2027 as we experience the food, wine, and culture of iconic Italy with Colette. Our journey takes us to historic cities and enchanting medieval towns. We'll enjoy a wonderful 7-night stay in the Montecatini Term A famous resort and spa town nestled in the heart of the rolling hills of Tuscany. Visit the cultural treasures of Florence, Pisa, and lovely Lucca. Along the way, we'll discover the food, wine, and old world charm, and even have a special chef-led cooking class. This and so much more. Colette handles the details, flights, hotels, meals, and the local experiences. Your only job is to have the time of your life. Don't miss joining my wife and me in Italy. Now, to learn more, visit 1010XL.com or call Colette at 800-581-8942.
Come away with me.
That's 1010XL.com or call Colette at 800-581-8942.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Rookie minicamp later this week down at the Miller Electric Center, and then they're on the field for OTAs beginning in a couple of weeks. Let's take a look back at the Jaguar draft. Let's take a look at the roster heading into OTAs, and let's take a look around the AFC South now that a lot of the offseason is in the barn, right? Free agency, the draft, as teams begin gearing up for OTAs and minicamp. Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Matt, how you doing?
Doing well, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, Matt, we're good. Thank you so much for the time, and certainly it's been an interesting time for us here in Jacksonville post-draft. Certainly a lot of conversation about what James Gladstone and the Jaguars did a week and a half ago in Pittsburgh. What was your ultimate takeaway on the Jaguar draft class from a mile-high view?
Well, look, first of all, when you have a first-round pick, which of course they didn't because of the Travis Hunter deal, I mean, it's always going to be a challenge. And that's doubly so in a draft that I think most people felt like not a lot of elite players in it. Now, I think there was a lot of thought that in the second and third round, you could get some good value if the board fell a certain way, but it was tough. Look, frankly, I did not love the draft. I know I'm not alone in that opinion. That seems to be a pretty consensus opinion. I just didn't understand some of what was trying to be done. And it's not even that I don't like the players necessarily. I just thought, like Borkircher, for an example. Look, he's a good player. It's not that I don't think he can play. And the NFL is going to this wide tight end where you have these move tight ends who can block. They're not going to be big offensive weapons. And Borkircher can catch the ball some, but he's mostly going to be there to be this inline blocker. And we've seen guys like this, the Charlie Kohlers of the world who got $24 million this offseason from the Chargers. But to me, if you're Jacksonville, Brenton Strange is your guy who's going to catch the ball, and then you got Long. I don't know. It just felt kind of redundant, as the draft went on. And listen, the 6th, 7th round, I mean, you're throwing darts. Okay, everybody in the league is, but they took a couple guys who you looked at and said they were pretty much largely roundly projected to be UDFA's. And they ended up being, one case 6th round, another case 7th round pick. Is it the end of the world? No. And by the way, they might be right. Like, in the end, Jacksonville might end up getting the last laugh. And look at all the rest of us and go, yeah, we knew better than you. Ha ha. But it just felt like there was a little bit of trying to outsmart the general thought process in the draft. And sometimes you do that and you end up being smarter. But I just thought it felt a little bit riskier than it needed to be.
Matt Verderam of SI. Matt, I've been lucky enough to do this for 24 years. And the term consensus board when it comes to draft season, to me, is a relatively new term. I mean, I guess the last couple of years is when we really started talking about this. What do you make of all that? Because the ironic part is Jacksonville's getting killed. Houston and San Francisco are kind of right behind them. 3 teams that made the playoffs last year getting the most ridicule about not following those boards.
Oh, I would argue, too. I mean, you could throw the Rams and the Seahawks in there. I mean, those 2 teams are also teams that I've seen a ton of. Now, the Rams, I think a lot of that is based off of drafting Simpson. I mean, a lot of that is the 13th overall, you draft the quarterback when you're a favorite to win the Super Bowl. I think a lot of people felt like, hey, you could have added something to help you get over the hump this year, and you didn't. Fine. The Niners are a unique case because, quite frankly, San Francisco's drafts have been very bizarre for years on end, and they've been. I don't want to say lucky because that's not fair to John Lynch. Like they found like odd pockets of value. Like the Brock Purdy thing, I think even they would admit they were extremely fortunate. Like they were not drafting Brock Purdy at Mr. Irrelevant thinking, oh, this guy's the future. But they got in that case, they were just flat out lucky. But the Niners have been able to survive a lot of these bad drafts because they have Christian McCaffrey, who they traded a bunch of picks for. They have Trent Williams, who's ancient but is still very good. They have George Kittle, who's getting very old and still very good. But like when those guys start to age out, which we're a year or 2 probably away from, they're going to struggle. They have not drafted behind those guys very well. Now, the Texans, listen, last year I would argue the Texans had a good draft. They drafted Ursary, they drafted Higgins, who I think should be a good player for them. I actually didn't mind Houston's draft, so I'm a little different there. I thought Houston did okay. But the consensus board thing, look, I'm not a big fan of any of that stuff from the standpoint that who's making the consensus board? Like, if it's people like me, that doesn't matter. Like, I cover the league and I do the best I can. I'm in the media. Like, I'm not breaking down tape from College Station day in and day out. That's not anybody's job. And these people who will tell you, oh, hey, I sat there and watched all state. Even if you did, you're not sitting there talking to these coaches in college and these scouts who that's all they do, and these people in the building who know these kids inside and out and frankly have known these kids since high school. Like, I would never base my grades or my thoughts on someone's consensus board because it's just, you can put in as much time as you want. If you're not in the league talking to all these people day in and day out, you don't know. You just don't.
It's certainly going to be an interesting case study to see what happens with this Jaguar draft class because, again, there's so many people that did not love it based on the consensus boards. And, Matt, it's curious, and you talk to so many people around the league, and you've covered the league for so long. I'm curious your thoughts. James Gladstone, very popular in these parts, as you can imagine, for what he did with Jacoby Myers and obviously the turnaround with Liam Cohen. But, boy, he appears to be a polarizing figure. There are some people that look at him as kind of the smartest guy in the room syndrome. I've heard a lot of national folks be very critical of Gladstone. And, again, another interesting case study to see how his career performs.
You know what? I think first of all, my personal opinion of James, and I don't know James particularly well, but from a far view, look, I think the job he's done, I commend him. I mean, Jacksonville for the longest time, whether it was Trent Baalke or otherwise, their MO was to go out to spend an absolute fortune in free agency and then have a bunch of dead money 2 years later. Like, that is just what Jacksonville did for years and years and years. They would just go out and sign these huge contracts. And occasionally it worked. Look, they almost got the Super Bowl one year because they had guys like A.J. Boye and Calais Campbell. These guys just spent huge money on. But for the most part, it just hadn't worked. It had not worked out. And so I commend Gladstone for when he came in last year, being like, look, we're just not going to sit there and go berserk. And this offseason, they were extremely quiet. You know, they okay, you lose a couple players, which you knew that was probably going to happen. Fine. But, you know, I would imagine, you know, they've already extended Walker. I would think Strange and Parker Washington are probably next. They kept Jacoby Myers. Like, I think that's a really good way to do business. Now, his tenure is largely going to be defined by what Lawrence ends up becoming under Liam Cohen, which I think is the strength right now. I think Cohen is an excellent coach. And I think Trevor Lawrence is really going to have some terrific years under him. The Hunter trade is going to be a big part of his early legacy, right? Like, if that doesn't work out, you're going to look back and say, hey, that's a significant whip. Now, if it does work out, which, of course, the jury's out, we don't know yet. If it works out, then, hey, it's an awesome trade, and you got a really key piece for a team trying to win a Super Bowl. But, yeah, I think part of the reason he gets criticism is he's so young. And people don't like to see the young whiz kid succeed. They just don't. It's a jealousy thing. It's a I told you so thing. But to me, look, I think he's done a good job. And this draft, by the way, I don't know if he did a good job or not. I didn't love the class, but it might turn out that he did a good job, and he can turn around and tell everybody else to stick it, that he did it, that he knew better.
Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Matt, I know you have a piece out on the AFC South. We'll get to that in a moment. Final Jaguar question. When they walked off the field against Buffalo, I actually had you on a couple of days after that in January. We had a lot of questions. Were the coordinators going to come back? The futures of ETN and Lloyd? What were they going to do in free agency? What were they going to do in the draft? Well, we have answers to all that now. And I don't know if you can say the roster's better than it was that day because they did lose a couple of free agents. But how do you feel about the Jaguar roster as we begin entering OTAs later this month?
I don't think it's better, but I don't think it's worse. Like, look, Devin Lloyd had a great year last year. Devin Lloyd also had his fifth-year option decline because to that point in his career he hadn't done particularly well. I think the world of ETN in terms of I think he's a very good back. I also think Basil Tootin can come in and give him 80% of that, and I think he'll be fine. I think with that offensive scheme, they'll be able to run the ball. I think when I look at Jacksonville overall, like I just said a few minutes ago, I think that the defining characteristic of this team is going to be Cohen with Lawrence, and then the defensive coordinator, who I thought last year did one of the best jobs in the league. I really thought he would get more head coaching consideration than he got. I mean, I was very, very impressed by Campanile. I thought he did above and beyond, considering, look, the talent on the defense is good, but they played at a borderline elite level down the stretch. I still think, look, I think it's them in Houston, and I think the question with Jacksonville is just going to be, look, defensively, can they continue to play the way they played as the season went on? Offensively, can Lawrence continue to ascend? The last 6 games of the year was unbelievable. And with Houston, the question is just going to be, can Houston score? I mean, Houston may not give up 12 points a game, but I don't know if they can score. So I think those two teams are clearly the two best teams in the division.
I know we talked to you back in March. At that point, you were not very high on Indianapolis, and you were still kind of uncertain about Tennessee. What's your thought on those two?
So Indianapolis, I just don't see the upside. I don't. Like, I think their coaching is really good. I think Shane Steichen's an excellent coach. And I think Lou Anarumo is one of the 5 best defense coordinators in the NFL. And so for that reason alone, I do think they're competitive and they'll be tough to beat, and they won't beat themselves. They lost a lot. They lost a lot off that team. QED Pay's gone. Zaire Franklin gets traded to the Packers. Pittman gets traded to the Steelers because they decided to keep Pierce. It's a lot. Jones is coming off the injury. They lost Braden Smith at right tackle, and they didn't really add any. And yeah, they kept Pierce. And I did like the draft. I did like C.J. Allen in the second round. I think he could play for him. Halsey at the LSU safety, I think he's a good player. But they're rookies. I mean, even if they are good, it's going to take some time. And they lost Nick Cross, so Halsey's just going to replace him. I think the Colts. I think the ceiling is like around 500. I don't think they're that good. The Titans, I think the Titans could be a lot better. They went out and spent a fortune. And I'm not always super impressed by that. Look, they had a ton of cap space, fine. but I also really like the draft. I think Falk had to go to the right situation, and he's going to the right situation with Sala. I think Carnell Tate is a top 3 player in that draft. I think he's going to be excellent. They're giving Cam Ward some real talent around him, for which last year he had no shot. I mean, they had no weaponry at all. And they still need some more, but they at least have some now. Wandell Robinson comes in. That's fine. Look, I don't love giving him $78 million, but I think he'll make them better. Defensively with Salah and their front 4, I think they'll be good. So, look, I think the Titans are not a playoff team yet, but I think they're drastically improved. But I still think it's almost like a 2-tier system. I think Jacksonville and Houston are fighting for what everybody wants to fight for, which is a division title, host a playoff game. And I think the other 2 teams are kind of fighting along there for like 3rd place.
Final moments with Matt Verderam of SI. Matt, final question. My concern about Jacksonville in relation to the conference the entire offseason has been this. Status quo, they bring in Chris Rodriguez, but they lose ETN, whereas every team they competed against for those seeding in the AFC, Denver gets Jalen Waddle. Buffalo gets DJ Moore. Kansas City gets Kenneth Walker. Houston gets David Montgomery. New England's likely to get A.J. Brown. Should Jaguar fans be concerned about that in relation to the rest of the conference?
I think some of those moves, listen, Buffalo, I got to be honest, the DJ Moore trade to me was wild. Like, giving up a 2nd-round pick for DJ Moore felt desperate. And Buffalo's going from a 4-3 to a 3-4. I don't love the scheme fit for a lot of those guys. Like, listen, they're going to be there because of Allen. But I don't know that I'd classify them as better. In fact, I don't think they are better. I think they might be worse because I have no idea what you're getting out of Joe Brady, and I have no idea what you're getting out of a defense. And all of a sudden, it's asking Greg Rousseau to stand up at 270 pounds and rush the passer. Houston, I think, is largely the same team. I mean, they brought in Montgomery. I think the big question at Houston's like, what development are you getting out of Higgins? Is Tank Dell going to be able to play again? Like, that to me is the bigger question. Kansas City, look, they had to fix the run game. They did that. Mahomes, it appears, is going to be more than ready to go by week 1. I really did like their draft. I thought Mansour Delane, to me, was one of the best 5 players in the draft. And you figure they'll bounce back and they'll be there. Denver getting Waddle does matter. You know, he makes some more. But I got to be honest. When I look at the AFC, and I include Jacksonville, what I'm going to say, there are like 4 or 5 teams. Wouldn't surprise me if they win 10 games and they're out in the first round. Wouldn't surprise me if they represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Like Buffalo, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Denver, Houston, all of them. You want to throw Baltimore in there? Okay, fine. Like, all those teams, I think it's a very wide open conference. I think a lot of it's going to depend on, hey, who steps up, who has some injuries. But I think it's a wide open field in the AFC this year.
Matt, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville. I know you got a piece out on the AFC South there on Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, just doing kind of off-season wrap-up, doing AFC report cards. My colleague Gilberto Manzano's handling the NFC. And so we're just doing them by division. Had the AFC South come out, we'll have the West and the North come out later this week and East next week. But yeah, you can check it all out at SI.com. It's a pretty detailed look. I'm talking to sources throughout the league for every single one of these pieces. So it's not just necessarily my opinion. There's also opinions of people around the league. We have a quote for every team from anonymous sources from other teams talking about what they see in these organizations. So there's plenty of stuff, and yeah, we'll have it covered all throughout the offseason and into camp.
He's one of our favorites, Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated. Matt, know you're busy, man. Thank you as always. We'll do it again soon, pal.
Hey, no problem. Anytime.
Live streaming from the XL Digital Studios. Brightened by Harbor Dental Care, Jacksonville's first choice for dental emergencies.
Rotator cuff injuries are common among athletes and those who have physically demanding careers. Don't let this injury keep you away from the sport you love. Dr. George Barry here, and the first thing you need to do with a serious shoulder injury is to diagnose where the damage is and how significant it is. Rotator cuff tears are either acute tears sustained during an injury or accident, or degenerative tears. If you're interested in learning more about rotator cuff repair and how our expert team of orthopedic surgeons can help you, call Barry Orthopedics today or visit barryorthopedics.com.
Frank Franger here with Coach Delaney from Coil Fencing. You've been building winning teams at Fletcher for years. How does that correlate with installing fences here in Northeast Florida?
Well, Frank, at Coil Fencing, we like to take the coach approach. Implement a game plan and execute it on the field. That's been our winning recipe for 99 years.
And you tackle more than fences, right?
Absolutely. We also service and install automatic gates, perfect for multifamily communities, your business, or residents.
The best defense is a good offense. Visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
I used to dread going to the dentist. Every visit felt like a sales pitch with constant upselling, surprise fees on my bill, and I could never get in when I needed to. But Harbor Dental Care? Totally different. They saw me the next day, gave me honest pricing up front, and even set me up with a payment plan I could actually afford. No pressure, no surprise charges, just kind people who get it. If you want to experience dentistry the way it should be, book your appointment today at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Got a dent or a scratch that needs fixing? San Jose Collision in Mandarin offers expert auto body repair and works with all insurance. Family owned and locally trusted. San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Renovations are underway at the golf club at Southampton, but that doesn't mean you still can't come out and hone your game. The practice facility is open Tuesday through Sunday with a great membership offer to work on your game year-round. Log on to golfsouthampton.com or check out their Facebook page. Work on your tee game, iron play, shots around the green, and of course your putting. It's all there and a great way to stay fresh until they unveil fresh new greens in October. Check it all out at the golf club at Southampton. Call 287-PLAY.
I am so totally excited about Mother's Day because I know my men will send me a bunch of Kuhn Flowers floral arrangements. I get so many floral arrangements from Kuhn Flowers, it totally makes my friends all jealous and crazy. Order for Mom today at kuhnflowers.com.
Credit card interest rates are now over 29%. Most people are only making the minimum payments, so they're getting nowhere. Hey, Prosser here, but here's what many homeowners don't realize. Using the equity in your home, you can easily access hundreds of thousands in cash. With Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can pay off your credit cards, your existing HELOC, your car loans, or get money for that home improvement project. One client just got $100,000 approved and saved over $1,500 a month. Here's the best part. With Loan Pronto, you can do it all from your phone. With zero out-of-pocket, no hard credit pull up front, no appraisal, no long drawn-out bank process, and no touching your first mortgage. Rates are at a near 3-year low. Act now. Go to loanpronto.com. See how much you can get in about 60 seconds. Loan Pronto, 2,800 5-star Google reviews. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Hacker After Dark, before dark on a Tuesday. In for Rick Ballou till 8 o'clock. Glad you're with us. 1010XL, 92.5 FM. Got some good news regarding the National Football League that we'll get to in a moment. Also want to get to this story on ESPN.com involving the post-draft NFL power rankings. But before we do that, we are givers here on Hacker After Dark. It's what we like to do to the hardworking men and women of Northeast Florida. And Aaron Williams, what do we have for the good folks this evening?
We got a pair of tickets for Don Jovi, the ultimate tribute, a fantastic recreation of one of the most popular rock bands in history at the and hopefully I pronounce this, at the Thrasher Horn Center in Orange Park, Friday, May 15th at 7:30 p.m. So give a call in, 641-1010, and I will hook you guys up with a pair of Don Jovi tickets on May 15th.
We'll take caller 4, 641-1010 right now. You want to see the ultimate Bon Jovi tribute band, Thrasher Horn Center in Orange Park on May 15th, 641-1010, 904 641-1010. We will take caller number 4 right now. Speaking of Bon Jovi, that brings back horrible memories for Jaguar fans. Look, I'm a Bon Jovi fan. I love the guy's music, the band. I love everything about him. But I will never, ever, ever refer to Bon Jovi or hear a Bon Jovi song without thinking of the AFC Championship game between Jacksonville and New England at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. That game was going one way, and albeit the calls were not going in favor of Jacksonville, but Bon Jovi came on the big screen. He was in Robert Kraft's booth there in Foxborough. And I've been to Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night. I've been to Neyland Stadium. I've been to the Swamp. I've been to some of college football's loudest environments. For any Jaguar fan, if you were there with me in Foxborough on the Miles Jack wasn't down game, when Bon Jovi came on that screen, they were in a TV timeout, and that entire stadium of New England Patriot fans started singing Living on a Prayer. The vibe in that stadium changed drastically in that moment. Drastically. So I personally now, 9 years after the fact, am still blaming Bon Jovi, along with the referees, for the Jaguars not beating the New England Patriots in that AFC Championship game. But if you want to go see the ultimate Bon Jovi tribute band at the Thrasher Horn Center, give Aaron Williams a call, 904-641-1010. We'll take caller number 4 right now. All right, NFL, good news. Good news. We think. Let me read this verbatim. So for people that hadn't been following this, and it hadn't become a big story yet because the season wasn't here, but the NFL and the NFL officials were having problems to the point where the thought was, are we going to need replacement refs? And we all remember the last time we had replacement refs for regular season games in the NFL, that Monday night Seattle-Green Bay game, that absolute disaster where they gave Seattle the win on the Hail Mary when clearly it was not a catch, and the replacement referees it was just a bad look. But there was a thought coming into 2026 that if the referees and the NFL couldn't get a deal done, that replacement refs were once again going to be needed to at least begin the year. Well, it's coming out now. Kevin Seifert of ESPN, among others, is saying negotiations between the NFL and the NFL Referees Association have progressed far enough that the union has scheduled a ratification vote on Thursday night. If the vote passes on Thursday night, there will be no need for replacement officials in the 2026 season. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful. You want the best guys, the most capable guys doing their job, and there's so much on the line in these NFL games. You want NFL officials, guys that have done it, guys that have experience, guys that are, I guess, trusted, although that's an interesting word when it comes to officials, but in theory, trusted to do the best job to their ability, and you don't want replacement refs. And it looks like the real refs will be there in 2026. Again, a ratification vote will take place between the Referees Association and the NFL on Thursday night. If it does pass, then the replacement refs will not be needed for the 2026 season. Speaking of the 2026 season, the post-draft NFL power rankings are out according to ESPN.com. I have not looked at these yet. I'm curious where Jacksonville is. I'll look at them with you. Seattle, number 1. Well, no kidding. They're the defending world champions. They probably deserve to be number 1. The LA Rams come in at number 2. That goes to show you the power of the NFC West. They got the 2 best teams in the post-draft ESPN power rankings. Denver at number 3. Again, Denver did not represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. That, of course, was New England. Denver did add Jalen Waddle, and they are the highest-ranked AFC team on this list. Buffalo comes in at number 4. They made some offseason acquisitions, including DJ Moore. The Philadelphia Eagles come in at number 5. So your top 5, Seattle, the Rams, the Broncos, the Bills, and the Eagles. Patriots come in at 6, Packers 7, 49ers 8. All right, where's Jacksonville? Chicago is 9, Baltimore is 10. Detroit 11. Wow. Kansas City 12. Houston 13. Are you kidding? The Chargers 14. Wow, there's Jacksonville. Number 15 on the list. Here's what they say about the Jaguars. Most improved position, corner. Travis Hunter being primarily a corner in 2026, the opposite of what happened last year, is the main reason. He played 67% of the team's offensive snaps, 36% of defensive snaps before the injury he suffered on October 30th. Re-signing Monteric Brown and Jordan Lewis along with Jarian Jones makes corner the strongest position. I don't doubt that, but to have him 15th in power rankings, where are they in the AFC? So the Chargers, that's one AFC team above them. The Texans 2, Chiefs 3, Ravens 4, Patriots 5, Bills 6. So the ESPN does not have the Jaguars as a playoff team right now in their post-draft power rankings. They have them 8th in the AFC, 15th overall. Yikes. For a team that went 13-4 and was a division winner last year, to be in middle of the pack, at least in these power rankings, again, just kind of feeding into the narrative a little bit of what Liam Cohen was talking about, the lack of respect even after a 13-4 campaign in 2025.
Are you surprised, Hack?
I'm surprised that they're 8th in the AFC. Yeah, I am. Am I surprised they're not in the top 10? No. But there's only 16 teams in the American Football Conference last time I checked. And ESPN has them dead in the middle at number 8. To me, there are not 7 teams in the AFC that have a better roster than the Jaguars do. So from that standpoint, it does surprise me a little bit. I get losing ETN and Devin Lloyd, fair. But again, if I'm ranking AFC teams, I don't have 7 of them above Jacksonville as we sit here on Cinco de Mayo getting ready for rookie mini camps and OTAs all over the National Football League. Coming up next, more on the NFL and a little NBA playoff talk. We're about 15 minutes away. Sean Devaney, Heavy.com. We'll talk NBA playoffs. We'll also talk Billy Donovan and the Orlando Magic. Could it happen 19 years after it already happened? That conversation 15 minutes away. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Don't answer that. Yeah.
What's your name? This is 1010XL. What are you? Jacksonville Sports Radio. I'm watching you. On the video and social channels of 1010XL.
What's happening, beautiful people? ET here. Let me tell you about a little something that's happening right here in my side of town in Fleming Island. Encore Research Group is advancing the future of medicine through clinical research studies focused on weight loss, diabetes, hypertension, and more. Their team of multi-specialty doctors are proudly serving folks in Fleming Island, Green Coast Springs, and Middleburg. If you ever wondered whether a research study might be right for you, find out at EncoreDocs.com to see if you qualify. Encore Research Group. The future of medicine starts here.
This is Victor Patel, CEO of North Florida Medical Center. Have you been in an auto accident? Are you feeling pain or stiffness? Our board-certified team has over 15 years' experience helping patients recover through chiropractic care, physical therapy, pain management, primary care, and neurology. Even minor injuries can cause long-term problems if left untreated. Schedule your free consultation today at nfmcjax.com. North Florida Medical Center, bringing the care back to healthcare.
If you want more teal in your daily diet, Jaguars Today with Mike Dempsey and Fat Tony. Exclusive guests, sharp analysis, and nonstop Duval football. Served by Renewal by Anderson, custom windows and doors. 10 to noon weekdays on 1010XL.
Hey gang, Prosser here. Have you been thinking about selling your home and you haven't pulled the trigger? Let me tell you about Chad and Sandy and the experts that will help you make that decision. Mortgage rates have dropped. They're expected to move lower. Home sales momentum is building, so now's the time to get your home ready to maximize your sales price. It's time to call Chad and Sandy, the proven experts to sell your home. Need to sell now, need to sell fast, need max price. Check, check, check. Chad and Sandy have the science behind it. Using their proprietary Market Max system, Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Jonathan writes from Mount Pleasant. The only thing standing between me and my dream of hitting the road in my RV was selling my Mount Pleasant home. After hearing Chad and Sandy on the radio, I gave them a call. The results were unreal. In just 3 days, I had multiple offers at full asking price. So can you. Call the local experts I trust and recommend. Call Chad and Sandy, 414-6200 or chadandsandy.com.
Bring your home back to life with Zero Res, a fresher clean that you can actually feel. This month, take 25% off all services, hardwood tile, LVP, carpet, air ducts, and more. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com and tell them 1010XL sent you.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like customer service associate at a dry cleaning shop.
Yeah, hi. I'm here to pick up my suit.
Ah, yes. Here you go.
There must be a mistake. This is too small.
It shrunk a whole lot. Look on the bright side. Now you have a suit you can give to a child.
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
You may not be able to control the air you breathe on the outside, but you certainly can on the inside of your home. Just call Florida Home AC and ask about the Remy Halo. It's the next generation of air quality technology. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC.
Don't we all owe it to Mom? I know I do. Jeff Pryor with Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring.
I know I owe it all to my mom.
And me too. Floor your mom this Mother's Day and transform her home with exquisite new floors or surprise her with a brand new glass or screen enclosure for the outdoor space she's always wanted.
I want to surprise my mom and me too.
That's so sweet. Love you guys.
You guys are awesome. Visit our websites or one of our showrooms today to experience the lifetime difference and ask about our Mother's Day specials.
Lifetime Flooring.
Royal Pest Services, a local company you can trust. Royal Pest is a certified installer of tap insulation, which stands for thermal, acoustic, and pest control. Reduce that electric bill by adding pest protection. It's that easy. Online at royalpestservices.com.
What if every day felt like a private resort in your backyard? Premier Outdoor Inc., Jacksonville's #1 pool builder in the 2025 Best of Bold City Awards, creates entire outdoor living spaces, not just pools, custom pools, heated spas, summer kitchens, cabanas, fireplaces, screen enclosures, and more. Veteran and first responder owned, turn your backyard into an unforgettable retreat. See what you could build at premieroutdoorinc.net. Premier Outdoor Inc., a visionary of hardscapes and aquatics.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark, Before Dark. In for Rick Ballou on this Tuesday. We'll take you up till 8 o'clock as we do each and every evening. 2 hours with you right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Sean Devaney, one of my main NBA guys, has been so for years. He joins me coming up in less than 10 minutes. Speaking of the NBA, last night, boy, the Knicks, they just absolutely obliterated Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia was coming off a 7-game series against Boston, an emotional comeback down 3-1. They only had a day basically to prepare. They went straight from Boston to New York, and maybe that'll be the excuse that gets them into the series. But last night, that was not even a game. I mean, the Knicks won by 40 and scored 137 in the process, absolutely destroying Philadelphia. New York looks really good right now. You also had Minnesota knock off San Antonio. Look, not that I'm going to give a thorough breakdown of Minnesota, San Antonio for our audience here in Jacksonville, but the one thing I will say, Wemby, he had 11 points and he ended up with a triple-double. He had 11 points. I believe he had 15 rebounds, and he had 11 blocks. 11
insane
blocked shots for Victor Wembanyama. It's unbelievable. Now, it's in a losing effort. I mean, how many guys score, what do you have, 11? I think he might have 12, whatever. Less than a dozen points and end up with a triple-double. But he had a triple-double in a losing effort. But give credit to Anthony Edwards in Minnesota. They went into San Antonio and took home court. Tonight, you got Cleveland and Detroit. That game is actually going to be tipping off in a matter of moments. Well, that's a little salt in the wound. This would be Orlando. If they had won one of the last 3 games against the Pistons, they did not. So it's Cleveland and Detroit tonight, game 1, and then later on, Lakers and Oklahoma City. I don't think the Lakers are going to have much for the Thunder. You'd love for Luka to be healthy. You'd love for Luka to be out there with Austin Reeves and obviously LeBron to see if they could challenge the defending world champions. Without Luka, I don't think the Lakers are going to pose too much of a threat to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Thunder. Should be a fun series regardless. But the NBA playoffs are in full swing in the conference semifinals. Of course, that does not involve the Orlando Magic as they are out. They fired their head coach yesterday in Jamal Mosley. And now the coaching search for the Orlando Magic is well underway. And the name that you hear at the top, the name that you hear, Orlando is interested. Is he interested in Orlando? Is Billy Donovan. Remember, 19 years ago, Billy Donovan agreed to become the coach of the Orlando Magic until he had a change of heart and then said, thanks, but no thanks, I'm going back to Gainesville. Boy, what a full circle moment it would be if 19 years later, towards the latter stages of his coaching career, if Billy Donovan were now, 2 decades after the fact, finally going to take the job with the Orlando Magic. He's certainly one of the front runners. Let's talk Orlando. Let's talk Billy Donovan. And let's talk a little NBA playoffs. Sean Devaney, Heavy.com is where you find his work. He's covered the NBA for years, and he joins us next on a Tuesday evening here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark, before dark, with you till 8 o'clock. We're glad you're with us on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Get to know the players and coaches.
And we had an unbelievable moment for our franchise today.
Jaguars Today with Mike Dempsey and Tony Smith.
That's who we are.
Weekdays from 10 to noon on 1010XL.
Overheard at the Hard Rock Bet Party.
I just got another NBA offer from Hard Rock Bet.
A Hard Rock Bet promo at the Hard Rock Bet Party? That is so meta.
That's not meta. That's Meta World Peace. Meta. Tell them about Hard Rock Bet.
Hard Rock Bet has it all. Live odds for every NBA game, every player prop, same game parlays, you name it. It's the only place I play these days.
Okay, now that is meta.
Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us.
Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about your gambling? Call or text 1-833-PLAY-WISE.
For the greenest, lushest lawn on the block, choose the local legends, Roundtree Sod. Don't just settle for ordinary. Let Roundtree Sod deliver you a picture-perfect lawn. To get a free estimate, call 7414-SOD. 7414-SOD.
Kubota keeps job sites running smoothly with the #1 selling compact excavator lineup in the world. Reliable, capable, and backed by strong dealer support. Stop by today and power up your crew. Right now, bring home select Kubota excavators with 0% financing available or save up to $7,000. Now through June 30th, see store or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimers for full disclaimer. Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
The Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach is better than ever. Come experience our new renovated spaces, including an expanded wellness center with upgraded state-of-the-art equipment, recovery solutions, brand new locker rooms, and the Horsell Center for Health and Well-Being, all designed to help you feel your best. And now you can join with no joining fee. Plus, enjoy your 4th month free. There's no place like this place. And you'll love what's new. Visit the Brown Family YMCA in Ponte Vedra Beach.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just the job, but an experienced, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
Mike Dempsey, if you're thinking about a bathroom upgrade, maybe turning that old tub into a safer walk-in shower, check out 5 Star Bath Solutions. I shopped around, talked to several companies, and I chose 5 Star because their customer service was simply incredible. Responsive, honest, upfront about the entire project, and their pricing was even better than expected. When you're ready for a fresh look, better comfort, and a bathroom space you'll love using every day, schedule your free consultation at 5starbathsolutions.com and get the 5-star experience.
experience.
Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL. Pitched by the personal injury attorneys of Farah and Farah, Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville, and Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
Imagine this. You've got the burgers ready in a backyard full of guests. And, folks, that's a strong lineup. But a clogged drain on a holiday? That can change everything in a hurry. Before kickoff, make sure your plumbing is ready to go. Call Duck Duck Rooter. They've got experience, honest pricing, and a team you can count on. And right now, get your main sewer line cleaned, plus a camera inspection for just $129. Outside cleanout is required because the only thing you want overflowing this weekend is that cooler. So when you're stuck, call the Duck. 904-862-6769 or duckduckrooter.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Well, the conference semifinals are all set in the NBA playoffs. Unfortunately, that does not include the Orlando Magic, who were up 3-1 on Detroit. Obviously blew that on Sunday. Jamal Mosley, the head coach, fired on Monday morning. And now the question is, where does Orlando go from here? Well, we'll ask that question to Sean Devaney. He's been one of our NBA guys for years. He does a terrific job covering the association for Heavy.com, and Sean's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ryan. How are you?
Sean, we're good. 3-1, all was right with the world, and then it completely blew up in Orlando's face. A collapse in Game 6 that people might talk about for a long time. I thought Game 7 was a mere formality. You weren't going to recover from that. What did you take of the Magic's first-round loss to Detroit?
I actually thought it was Game 5 that probably was where things started to turn for me, even though obviously they had the big lead in Game 6. But Game 5 was, everything was right there where, Paolo has the 45-point game. They're 17 for 38 from the 3-point line, which has been obviously an issue for them. So it seemed like to me, like that's the game that you've got to win when you can get that kind of offensive performance from a team that struggles so badly to put up points. To me, that's where things started to come undone. And obviously there were some free throw issues in that game. I think they were 16 for 30. Paolo himself missed 7 of them. So, a lot of things I thought started to unravel there. And then you could, like you say, by the time you got to Game 7, I kind of knew how this was going to end. It's stunning if you put it in the context of this season, though, and what was expected of this team and how they actually played. It's a lot less stunning. I mean, this was a massive disappointment of a year before the playoffs started, and it was kind of in the position where it had to be a long playoff run in order to somehow justify the things that had already happened.
Sean, you've covered this league for a long time. Orlando, I believe, landed back in Central Florida at 9 p.m. roughly on Sunday evening. Jamal Mosley was fired less than 12 hours later. I mean, that's pretty quick, right?
Yeah, I think this was decided a long time ago. I'm not sure, even if they beat Detroit and they were to go on and lose to Cleveland in the second round, I'm not sure that would have been enough to save Jamal Mosley's job. I think that, the team has kind of seen this as Mosley has done a job in terms of, taking a young team that needed to be coached up to a certain level and got them to that level, but he's not the guy to kind of take them to the next level. And I think that was determined, really as far back as the middle of the season, that there was really not much chance that Mosley was going to keep this job. Obviously the comments from Paolo and on adjustments, I think that was in January. You could really see by then that this was predetermined. So no surprise that they pulled the trigger as quickly as they did.
Sean Devaney, Heavy.com. Final thought on Jamal Mosley before we move forward here with the team. The injuries were ridiculous. You and I have talked about that. Should he have been given the benefit of the doubt because the guys couldn't stay on the court?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly some of that. It's a different team. If you've got Franz Wagner out there for at least one of those final three games, certainly you have to give him some consideration for that. But beyond that, I think you have to look at, okay, well, what's the culture? What's the locker room like? What are the meetings like? What are the game plans like? And I think that he had already lost the job as far as that was concerned. So, like I say, even if you have Franz and then you get past the first round and you lose in the second round, I don't think that would have saved his job. I think things had kind of he lost the rope with that team, and there was no going back.
Sean, as you know, in the Jacksonville, Orlando area, the name Billy Donovan carries a lot of weight in this state. Billy Donovan is available. What is your thought on Billy Donovan and the Orlando Magic?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably where they turn first. When you mention, a guy who you want to have kind of take him up a level, I think that Donovan, never really got there in Chicago, still has a pretty good reputation, has a good reputation in locker rooms and a good reputation among players to where he'd be your first choice if he wants to. And, that's a big factor here. I think he was pretty burnt out by the last few years in Chicago, and I wouldn't blame him for wanting to take a year off. Now, if this is the job he really wants, and everybody knows the history of him taking the job and then not taking the job and all that sort of stuff. But there's I think if this is the job he really wants, he's got to realize that it's probably not going to be open very long, and so now's got to be the time. So I do think he would prefer a year off, but at the same time, I think because this is the job that's open, it's probably one that he'd like to go and get. And look, this is a team that's in pretty good shape, even though it's been such a disappointing year. There's talent there, and so coaches are going to look at that and judge that job by that.
Sean Devaney talking NBA with us from Heavy.com. If not Billy Donovan, Sean, Tom Thibodeau, Budenholzer, I hear the name Steve Nash flirting around these parts. I mean, what do you think they go, or where do they go if not Billy Donovan?
Yeah, I think Tibbs would probably be the number. I think they're in a position, obviously, like I said, they've got some talent. They feel like they've gone through the rebuild. They want somebody who's going to accelerate things a little bit. Obviously, Michael Malone would have been a pretty big name had he not taken the North Carolina job. But I think Tibbs is, if you're not going to get Donovan, I think Tibbs would be probably number 2 on the list, and I think he'd have an interest there. I do think that there'd be a real possibility that he could land there. So that would probably be number 2. Budenholzer does have some history, and certainly that would factor in. But there was a sense when he in his last job, when he lost the Milwaukee job and Phoenix, that he'd kind of lost touch with where NBA offense is. So I'm not sure that's the guy that you'd want to bring in, but certainly Tibbs is a guy who could get them back to being a playoff regular.
All right, you look at the player personnel, Sean. Look, you don't want to base everything on the last couple of weeks, but Jalen Suggs, well, he was awful. I mean, let's just call it what it is. He was awful, and he's making a lot of money to be awful. Do they do something there in the offseason, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, the question is, you can decide to do something, but what? You can't. There's not much. Everybody else saw what we saw, so you're not gonna run it. You're not gonna sneak anybody past the league and say, "Hey, he's still really good." He's only 24. You should definitely trade for him. I don't think that's necessarily going to be something that they'll be able to get away with. Not with his contract, and really not with the way he's played all year. He has had trouble staying healthy the last 2 years. He hasn't been healthy. It really hasn't played well even when he's been healthy, and then shot 30% from the field in this series. So it's going to be very, very difficult to find a taker for a guy like that. Especially given the fact that he's just in the second year of a 5-year extension. So it's going to be really tough to find a taker there.
And I hate to do this because, you talk about professional basketball players, the toll it takes on your body. But at this point, Franz Wagner, I mean, dude, again, you're making a lot of money and you've sat out more games injured in the last 2 years than you've played. And that's going to become a conversation with Franz moving forward as well.
Yep, 22 games missed last year, and then a whole lot this year, almost 50 games missed this year. So, this is. I think you can get away with that for a year, and people won't question it. But you get 2 years in a row, and you start to ask the questions because look, if it's a knee injury and it goes over, it's an ACL and it takes you a year and a half to get back up to speed, that happens. But if it's constantly with hamstrings and wrists and all the little stuff, you start to say, wait, is there nothing that this guy can play through, or is everything going to wind up with him missing 10 days? Are we going to do this every month where he's missing 10 days here and 10 days there? That becomes problematic, and that becomes part of your reputation, becomes part of who you are as a player. It's an important stat is the games played and minutes played. Like that's a stat too. So yeah, if you get to that point, it becomes tough if you're a guy who we're paying a star salary to, but we can't rely on you to be on the floor.
Final question when it comes to the Magic, Sean. Again, Sean Devaney, Heavy.com. And then I want to end with an NBA playoff thought. What a novel concept that is. Banchero, he was nothing short of outstanding in games 5 and 7. I'm not going to blame him for the loss. I just don't think he had any help. But with a player like Paolo in the NBA circles, how involved will he be, should he be in the next head coach?
I don't think he'll be very involved. I don't think so. I don't think at 23 and not having won anything, I don't think he's earned that right. I mean, obviously you'd like to have a guy that he's in sync with, especially with the way things ended last year with Jamal Mosley and the things that were said over time. So, I mean, you'd obviously like him to be, a guy that Paolo like, and you'd like to have a guy who, can get the most out of Paolo just in terms of the X's and O's. But I don't think at this point that you're hiring Paolo's friend. I don't think you're looking for a player coach for Paolo. As good as he's been, you got to win a little bit before you can start helping me pick a coach. And I think that's still the case with him.
8 teams left in the conference semifinals. It looks like Oklahoma City, San Antonio are on a collision course in the West. In the East, I mean, who really knows? It's pretty wide open. What's your thought as the conference semis start?
I'm fascinated by the Sixers. I really think that they've got a pretty good chance to go from the number 7 seed into the NBA Finals. I think they can beat the Knicks. That's obviously going to be tough. The Knicks are a very talented team. But if Joel Embiid continues to do what he did to the Celtics in the first round, if he can stay healthy, stay engaged, and keep pushing that way, I'm not sure anybody on the Knicks can really give him the kind of defense that you've got to give him. Maybe OG Anunoby is and that's a mismatch, but it's one that Anunoby could potentially win. But really, when you look at the Knicks, I don't see anybody immediately who can stop Joel Embiid. And as long as that's the case, it's going to be really tough for the Knicks to win 4 out of 7 in this series. So pretty remarkable thing if somehow, this season of all seasons in Philadelphia, they're able to get to the NBA Finals. But I can kind of see a path there for them. He was just so impressive in those last 3 games against Boston.
I don't think either team has a particularly good shot, but if one team has a better shot, would it be Lakers over Thunder or Timberwolves over Spurs?
I'd say Timberwolves. They've got some playoff experience behind them. This is a team that plays very well at this time of year. I think the Spurs are still, as good as they've been. They're still a pretty new team and a lot of young guys that maybe you can put into some situations where they're not comfortable here in the playoffs. So I'd have to give the Timberwolves a little bit of a shot. Of course, that depends on Anthony Edwards and his health. He'll try to play in Game 1, but even if he doesn't, you still have to give them a chance to at least make this a series. And like I say, what we've seen out of Minnesota both this year and in recent years is they're a different team in the playoffs, and they're a much better team in the playoffs. So I think you have to give them some credit for that.
And then final question, 60 seconds for Orlando fans that want Billy Donovan. I've seen some reports, and I don't know how real these are. Let me ask you that if the Knicks were to get eliminated by the Sixers, that Mike Brown could potentially be in trouble and Billy Donovan would be on their list. Is there anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some stuff about Mike Brown. I don't think that's the case. I think maybe if he hadn't gotten through the first round, that might have been the case. And I'm not sure that's the job that Billy Donovan wants, anyways. Because he'd be walking into such a pressure cooker. I think ideally he'd want to take the year off and come back next year. But I don't think that going from Chicago to taking over a very disappointed and rabid Knicks fan base. I don't think that's quite the role he wants either. So I don't see that. I think Mike Brown is safe. And I think if Billy Donovan comes back this year, it's going to be for the Magic, or else he'll take the year off.
Sean Devaney, Heavy.com. Sean, I know you're busy, man. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
A bold station for a bold city.
We need you to be all strong and hot.
1010XL. Bold City Radio.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental. With light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, located in Bartram Park.
When my dad tore his meniscus skiing, he was told that surgery was the only fix. But surgery meant giving up his hobbies, so we went to Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. They specialize in non-invasive treatments that get you back to fighting shape. My dad got a platelet-rich plasma, or PRP, injection. It took a fraction of the time to heal, and now he's back to doing what he loves.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Scholar athletes prepare themselves to win at life.
1010XL and Southeast Orthopedic Specialists shine the spotlight on the Scholar Athlete of the Week. Wednesdays on The Franchi Show. Checked by
the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234.
Credit card interest rates are now over 29%. Most people are only making the minimum payments, so they're getting nowhere. Hey, Prosser here, but here's what many homeowners don't realize. Using the equity in your home, you can easily access hundreds of thousands in cash. With Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can pay off your credit card, your existing HELOC, your car loans, or get money for that home improvement project. One client just got $100,000 approved and saved over $1,500 a month. Here's the best part. With Loan Pronto, you can do it all from your phone. With zero out-of-pocket, no hard credit pull up front, no appraisal, no long drawn-out bank process, and no touching your first mortgage. Rates are at a near 3-year low. Act now. Go to loanpronto.com. See how much you can get in about 60 seconds. Loan Pronto, 2,800 5-star Google reviews. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Homeowners running out of space in your kitchen, closets bursting at the seams, or maybe your bathroom just feels outdated and cluttered. At Harvest Construction and Remodeling, custom cabinets are what they do best. Owner Scott spent years as the main cabinet installer for one of the region's largest big box retailers. As a family man growing his own business, he brings that experience directly to homeowners like you. They'll create beautiful storage solutions that improve look, feel, and function. Visit harvestrenovations.com.
License number CRC 1331012.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Now, the Monahans' golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
A lot of golden moments on the show today, but for the Florida Gators and John Sumrall on the 2027 recruiting trail, the train just keeps rolling. They were already in the top 10, according to 24/7 Sports, and today they add the number 7 offensive tackle in America and the number 2 best player in the state of Virginia, according to 24/7 Sports. Elijah Hutchinson, who chooses Florida over Clemson, Virginia Tech, and Vanderbilt. And then an hour later, they go out to the state of Oklahoma and get safety Caleb Dillard, who chose Florida over both Georgia and Oregon. The Gators now, and John Sumrall, number 6 in the 2027 recruiting rankings on 247sports.com. And they have 3 of the top 15 offensive linemen in America for the 2027 class currently committed. They are doing things on the recruiting trail they haven't done in 20 years. Will these commitments turn into signatures in December? We'll have to wait and see. But for the here and now, terrific work by John Sumrall and that staff putting together this class in 2027. More on the Gators coming up in a bit, but back into the National Football League and the Jacksonville Jaguars rookie mini camp at the end of the week, OTAs in a couple of weeks. Let's talk Jaguar draft, and it's never too early in the month of May, never too early to take a quick peek ahead to a little fantasy football. My buddy Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks talking NFL draft, talking a little fantasy ball as well. That's next on a Tuesday night. It's Hacker After Dark.
Estimated in 10 seconds.
Well, why don't you just turn it on and see what it does?
Sports radio is 1010XL.
I knew it!
Frank Frangie here. Nimnik Buick GMC is proud to be the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville, earned by treating customers with courtesy, respect, and fairness. All part of Nimnik's Treating You Right guarantee. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnik. For 3 generations, Nimnik has been the place customers keep coming back to. They treat you right, and they give a bunch back to the community. Visit NimnikBuickGMC.com today to learn more, or visit their showroom off Phillips Highway. GMC, we are professional grade.
Ironman Jacksonville is coming Sunday, May 16th, and they need you. Be a part of the team that makes race day happen. From aid stations to gear check, volunteers keep athletes moving and motivated. Students can earn service hours and groups may qualify for grants. Don't miss your chance to be a part of something incredible. Email imjacksonville@ironmanvolunteers.com to sign up. That's imjacksonville@ironmanvolunteers.com to sign up today.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
What if the next roof you put on your home was the last one? Not another replacement in 15 or 20 years, the last roof. Metlock Roofing is Florida's only manufacturer and installer of this exclusive roofing system. Engineered for strength, built for Florida weather, backed by a lifetime warranty. Imagine never needing another roof. Call 938-9933 or visit metlokroofing.com. Get your last roof today with Metlock. License number CCC 1335581.
Tom McMahon is here for Armstrong Fence Company, a locally owned and operated business on the First Coast for nearly 20 years. Known for reliability, quality craftsmanship, and professional service, Armstrong Fence handles it all, from big projects like stadiums and schools to your very own backyard. They build a wicked strong fence, and they do it right the first time. When you need a fence in Jacksonville, trust Armstrong Fence Company. Yeah, we did the fence.
It's time to take your season to the next level when the Jaguars return to the bank in 2026. Become a season ticket member and unlock exclusive access to ticketed events, members-only experiences, NFL membership club perks, and more. Availability is limited due to in-bowl renovations, so don't wait. Call 904-633-2000 or visit jaguars.com/season tickets to secure your spot at the center of the action. We'll see you at the bank this fall.
Today's vehicles are smarter than ever, but that also means they need more precision than ever. Features like lane assist, collision warning, and adaptive cruise control all rely on cameras, sensors, part of what's called ADAS. And if those systems are even slightly off, they might not work correctly. That's why, after certain repairs, your vehicle will need ADAS calibration. At G&H Tires and Service, they have the ADAS system, so your vehicle's safety features work the way they're supposed to. Don't guess with your safety. G&H Tires and Service. Precision that protects.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
10XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. NFL Draft in the rearview mirror. Obviously, the Jaguars caused a lot of news by what they did over that 3-day period in Pittsburgh. Let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about how it will affect what they do with the 2026 roster, and let's do it with one of our draft guys, Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks. He's been with us for years, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Shane, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It was a fun draft weekend. Definitely some surprises for everyone, but I'm looking forward to breaking it down with you for the Jags.
You know, for a guy like you that follows this thing year round, what are the days after the draft like? Is it decompression a little bit, or are you already on to 2027?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on to 2027. I have been on to 2027, already. And so it's, starting that process a little bit and kind of getting everything organized from the draft. And then, we move on. I start watching. I usually take, a month off, and then June is 2027 film time.
Shane, let's talk about the Jaguars. Obviously, they were the topic of conversation for a lot of people for what they did with general manager James Gladstone. We'll do a deep dive into individual guys in a moment, but a mile-high view. Did you have as much of a problem with Jacksonville's draft as it seems some others did?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to look at a full draft without a first-round pick and say, oh, this draft is great, right? When you don't have a first, then it becomes more difficult, because I think every player that was selected in the first round felt like, okay, that they were expected or it could have went in the first. So, it's a fine pick, fine value. And then teams kind of start to go away from that. Do I think that the Jaguars draft this year, you're going to look back and say, wow, this turned out to be an amazing draft? We were wrong. No, I don't know if you really got any, definite starters out of this draft, but it's a draft that built depth at positions that are coming up in free agency for the Jaguars, giving you some options and flexibility in the future. But I don't think it's going to be a highly impactful draft for them.
Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks. All right, Nate Borkature, the second-round pick, 56th overall. Certainly that was the one that got a lot of people's attention there on Friday night. What do you know about the Texas A&M tight end? What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of interesting. The profile's interesting because he spent the 4 years in Nebraska and did almost nothing in 19 catches over those 4 years, and then transfers up to Texas A&M a lot because of his blocking ability. And we saw him at Texas A&M really emerge as not just a blocker, but as kind of a soft hands pass catcher as well. He's one of those players where if you look at the stats, like, why the heck are you drafting this guy in the second round? When you watch the film, you see someone has that red zone ability, one of the better blocking tight ends in the draft. So I think the Senior Bowl was really where he emerged. I think if he had not played in that and had those practices and played that week, then I don't think the Jaguars draft him here. I think that's where you got to see Borkircher matching up against some of the top linebackers and safeties in this class and excelling. Would I have taken him at day two, not at 25 years old, with only 1 year of production, but is he someone that can be, a number 2 tight end? Possibly. I mean, I criticized the Brenton Strange pick at the time. I think it's very similar to that, in terms of what Borkircher can do if Brenton Strange leaves in free agency in a year.
They doubled up at tight end, too, against Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks. They got Borkircher at 56, and then I believe in round 5, Tanner Koziel out of Houston. That guy catches everything. Now, he might not give you much in the blocking department, although he says that that's something that he's certainly willing to work on and wants to work on. But, Shane, I don't know how many more tight ends were more productive as far as receiving in college football last year than the Jaguars' 5th-round selection.
None, if you count the last 2 years, if you want to combine those. Kozel is good in terms of, not only at Ball State, okay, level of competition. He broke out 94 catches, 839 yards, 8 touchdowns, then transfers up to Houston, 74 catches, 727 yards, 6 touchdowns. And he even came late to Houston. He initially transferred and committed to Wisconsin, but then swapped that. And the fact that he was able to get up to speed, start a tight end for that Houston team produce, I think says a lot. I mean, I had Kozel ranked as a early day 3 pick. I think to get him far ahead of Nate Borkircher. So to get him there, I think if he has a role in the Jaguars offense, it's going to be catching passes. That's what he does well. Now he's talked about the blocking. That's a question. I think he's kind of stiff in terms of going in and out of routes. It's not like you watch him like, wow, this is an amazing receiving tight end. He just catches everything, uses his body well, but he's not, and he has the athleticism that we saw, but it doesn't always translate on the field to fluid motion. So I'd probably bet on him, emerging more as a productive tight end than Borkircher, but that's a good 1-2 punch, again, if Brent Strange leaves in the year.
Shane, Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon seems to be the best value, not only for the Jaguars, but people say one of the best values of the draft. First off, do you agree with that? And if so, why did he fall to 88?
He was my number 3 interior offensive lineman in the draft. I thought, round 2 was very possible for him. The guy started at Wyoming, then went to USC, then to Oregon, and we saw, starts from him at right guard, at left guard. Is a really intriguing and versatile player. I think the experience is good. I don't think he's, a super athletic, explosive, kind of pop off the snap type player. That's probably why he fell in this draft. He's being older and not having necessarily that explosion off the snap. Those two things combined maybe led to the fall. But you watch the technique. I mean, the pass production, he knows he's super smart, reads the defender well. You can tell he does the film work and knows exactly how to beat, does some of the lead blocking and pulling really well. I think he's just a really solid lineman. Is he going to be an all-pro guard for you? No, but could this be the starter that comes out of this draft for the Jaguars? I would bet on Pregnon.
Couple more for Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks. You talk about what they did on the interior D-line and on the edge. Obviously, Albert Regis in round 3. Wesley Williams out of Duke in round 4. And then a guy in Zach Durfee out of Washington that the more people I talk to, the more people seem to be intrigued by him.
Yeah, I think Zach Durfee's interesting. I certainly had him lower in my rankings, but I think when you have a player that has his is a pure athlete like Durfee is, that's worth taking a chance on late. He's has a lot of quick twitch ability. You see the explosion, especially laterally, the way that he can move, take on blocks, shed blocks. I think there's something there. It's just very, very inconsistent. The highs are very high, but you don't get that a lot of the time. So it's definitely, a special teams player with an athletic profile that I think you can bring together. Is what you're getting with him. I like the Albert Regis pick, and that's probably one of my other favorite picks of the Jaguars in this class. You get a player who has, 2 years of starting experience. He's really, really strong anchor to him, really hard to push off his spot. plays really low. It doesn't have as long arms. Doesn't look like this freakish defensive tackle out there. But rarely do you see him miss, completely whiff or get blocked off the play or get pushed off the play. He's a run stopper first and foremost, a good nose. I think could be someone you rotate in on those rushing downs.
Wesley Williams out of Duke do anything for you? He's kind of the one guy. It's interesting. We talk about so many of the draft picks. It took me a couple of days to even get to Williams. He kind of got caught up in the wash. What's your thought on him?
Yeah, I think he's a little bit interesting. When I watch Wesley Williams, the thing that jumps out to me is the effort that he brings to the table. I don't think there's a snap where I thought, hey, he's playing a little slow, or he knows the play's not going to him. He's not trying. I mean, he's someone that is going to chase down that running back if he's across the field. I've never seen him, ease up at all. So, and you combine that with a good bend around the edge, someone that I think is getting better in terms of playing the run. Again, another kind of developmental type pass rusher who flashes the character on the field type stuff, has some athleticism to him, but just needs to learn, a little more pass rush moves, needs to learn how to disengage from blocks. I think it's a player you need to coach up to get to where he needs to be.
Final moments, Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks. Shane, as we make the turn for home, obviously the Jaguars have established guys like Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers as well. They needed some guys on the back end in that wide receiver room. Maybe they found one or two. Josh Cameron out of Baylor, I know he's a great return man. I'm curious your thoughts there. And then C.J. Williams out of Stanford. What are your thoughts on those two wide receivers?
Yeah, I mean, I like Josh Cameron a lot. I thought that was a pretty good pick that late. He looks like a running back on the field after the catch. He's big, strong, good at those contested catches, really good hands and extension, was pretty productive there at Baylor. I like a lot of these contested catcher guys. He's not, doesn't separate a ton. You're not going to get that from him, but I think could be a backup to a Brian Thomas, for example, would make a lot of sense to me. C.J. Williams, I can't figure out the pick, to be honest with you. I mean, my notes on him is he's not an NFL player. I don't think he has. He doesn't separate. He's not very athletic. He's not overly big. Sometimes you'll see this great sideline catch and stuff like that. Like he has some ball tracking ability. But I mean, maybe you'll come back to me in 2 years to be like, man, you were really wrong on C.J. Williams. But I didn't see anything there that tells me he's going to make an NFL roster.
The only two guys I haven't asked you about, Peyton Hughes, not that I need a thorough breakdown on the 7th rounder, but the one thing I was told, and I'm curious if you've heard this, he runs a 4.440, obviously. I was told a lot of teams were thinking about him in the 7th round because he would have been one of those priority free agents. So for the Jaguars to take him at 240 made a lot of sense, so they didn't have to get in a bidding war with other teams.
Right. I think that's what you use the 7th round for. I think Parker Hughes kind of fits that bill of, a big time athlete who is explosive, had, decent production. I think he's able to clean up tackles, over 100 tackles, decent in coverage, but instinctually is not there yet, even in that lower level of competition in Middle Tennessee. But I think that's the type of player that you pick in the 7th round, and maybe he ends up on the practice squad, see if you can develop him.
Give me 30 seconds on the last guy we haven't talked about, Jalen Husky out of Maryland.
Yeah, I think Jalen Husky kind of is a more of a special teams player to me. I think he's a good size, good tackler. He had some good production in terms of playing the ball. So definitely a free safety that can do some special teams work. End of the roster type guy.
Shane, final question. Talking to you for the last 12 or so minutes. Certainly there were some issues you had with the Jaguar draft. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it doesn't seem like you're killing it like some of your colleagues are.
No, I'm not necessarily killing it. I think when I watch players, I rank players, and we see that happen from a lot of perspective. It's something that some teams are going to follow a lot of that same model thoroughly. The Jaguars showed in this draft, taking a guy like Borkerser in the 2nd they're going to kind of do their own thing. And I think a lot of this draft it was not a good draft. I mean, for the Jaguars, this is a good draft not to have a first round pick as a whole. The first round was bad. The depth was poor. And I think it's why you saw a lot of teams go maybe against what the consensus was heading into the draft, because Jaguars maybe didn't feel like they could get starters in this draft. So it was, well, we definitely need tight end depth. We don't have any right now. We're gonna just get the guy that fits our team, and I think that's fine. But I don't think you're gonna probably get a home run draft out of being so against the consensus. I think when we look back, there are going to be players the Jaguars passed on that turned out to be really good. You're gonna be like, why didn't they take that player? But it doesn't necessarily mean that this was a bad draft as a whole.
Shane, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about Draft Sharks. Obviously, the coverage you have coming out of the draft. And as we enter the month of May, it's never too early to start thinking about fantasy football. And certainly Draft Sharks is the place to go for that.
Absolutely. You can sign up at draftsharks.com. You can read the articles. Our rookie, if you play any dynasty leagues, our rookie guide is free up there. Should be up there, so you can see our rankings. And you can start thinking about fantasy. And in May, I'll have a 2027 7-round mock draft and a 2028 7-round mock draft if you want to look ahead.
Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks. Shane, appreciate the time here in the pre-draft process. We'll be dialing your phone when it gets close to fantasy football draft time. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Ryan.
And thank you to Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Shane not only does a lot of fantasy football work for Draft Sharks, but he's their main NFL draft guy as well. So, look, a lot of conversation still about what the Jaguars did in this draft class. It'll be interesting to see them on the field for rookie minicamp and then for OTAs, which come up in just a couple of weeks, to see Borkacher and Regis. We've talked so much about them, Pregnon, Jalen Husky on down the line. Well, we'll actually be able to see them on the field coming up here end of this week and then in a couple of weeks with the veterans there for OTAs. And speaking of fantasy football, boy, it's never too early to start looking ahead at that. Fantasy football will be here before you know it. In fact, we've had some Hacker Fantasy League, HFL 2026 conversations here at the radio station over the last couple of days to start planning on that. We're already in the month of May. It will not be too long before people that play fantasy football start turning their attention towards those sorts of things. So we certainly spent a lot of time on that. Spent some time on the NBA playoffs as well. The fallout in Orlando. Is Billy Donovan the guy when it comes to the Orlando Magic as their head coaching search is underway? And also spent some time on a little college football. The USA Today released their way too early top 25. Florida State is actually in the way too early top 25. Florida is not, which is interesting, and we certainly talked about that this evening here on Hacker After Dark. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very, very busy Tuesday evening here on Hacker After Dark, before dark, in for Rick Ballou, and we certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. My buddy Shane Hallam of Draft Sharks. Thank you to Sean Devaney, Heavy.com. Sean's been one of my NBA guys for years. He does a terrific job covering the National Basketball Association, and always enjoy the conversation with Sean Devaney of Heavy.com. And then back in hour number one, Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated, as we did a deep dive into not only the Jaguar draft, but really the offseason that has been here in Jacksonville. And in fact, Matt on Sports Illustrated today, as a matter of fact, released an offseason recap of the entire AFC South. So we talk Jaguars, Texans, Titans, and Colts, and where the Jaguars kind of stack up in the division as OTAs approach. So we certainly thank Matt Verderam of Sports Illustrated for taking time out for us this evening.